The road to the Classic runs through the West. In its debut season, the Western Division sent 5 representatives to Greensboro and made a statement both on the water and the weigh-in stage. Competitors on the top 150 circuit have given the division a hearty thumbs up.
I wish I could fish it. I mean, you know, that's where my roots are from, and I've tried so hard to fit it into my schedule, but just, you know, I have so much going on across the country. However, I am going to try to fish a few of them.
And Western anglers have engaged in a second season of hot competition, each vying for a ride to the Classic Showdown in New Orleans. It's the California Western Invitational next. The Bass Anglers Sportsman Society presents the Bassmaster Tournament Trail.
Northern California, home of some of the most breathtaking territory in the country. We are at Lake Shasta, a big water impoundment just north of Redding, California, that offers 750 miles of shoreline and an assortment of coves, points, and tributaries. It's an outstanding fishery that falls in the shadow of the majestic Mount Shasta. But the serenity of the morning has been broken as big motors idle and the West's top bass hunters prepare to compete on the second stop of the Bassmaster Tournament Trail Western Division schedule. Hello everyone, I'm Jimmy Dykes and welcome to the West. Lake Shasta is a beautiful location known for its plentiful population of spotted bass. Under normal circumstances, catching fish here, not a problem, but with heavy pressure on the lake from local tournaments, local anglers, the question arises as to how big the fish will actually be that are brought to that weigh-in stage. Another factor in play during the tournament is the seasonal condition. It's late fall. A majority of these bass will be on the move, chasing shad at different depths. For an update on the conditions of the lake, we checked in with last year's Western Division champion, Skeet Reese.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. What we got here, water temperatures 52 to 57 degrees. The lake just turned over a couple weeks ago, so water temperature's the same throughout. A lot of these fish are starting to run bait back in the creek channels and the pockets. Number one technique a lot of these guys are going to be doing is they're going to be vertical jigging a spoon. This is a Horizon Perk Minnow. This is the bait of choice up here. The next most popular technique that a lot of guys are going to be doing is shaking a little hand-poured worm like this, 10 to 60 foot of water. Now, but early in the morning, guys are going to try and catch 1 or 2 good bites on like spinnerbait or jerkbait like this. You know, help upgrade their limit real quick early in the morning.
This tournament will present a variety of challenges to all of our anglers. One competitor to keep a close eye on is local favorite Gary Dobbins. He has an outstanding reputation for catching suspended bass. Lake conditions could play right to his strength. And Modesto, California's Mike Reynolds. Mike Reynolds put on a stellar performance for the Western Division at last year's '98 Classic, finishing 4th behind Denny Brower, George Cochran, and Randy Blockett.
So stay with us. The competition starts right after this. Welcome back to Lake Shasta, a mountain impoundment filled with black bass, trout, and landlocked salmon. The forecast for the opening round is sunny and comfortable, but this weather may hurt the shallow water bite. Key rules to keep in mind: there's a 5-fish limit and a 12-inch minimum for each fish. All other BASS tournament rules apply. Here's pre-tournament favorite Gary Dobbins. Gary's considered a master on Lake Shasta, known for throwing jerk baits and spinner baits. We asked him for an update on the lake conditions.
Normally the water is a lot lower and we got a little bit more color, and reaction baits dominate this time of year. Right now the water's high, it's real clear. Guys are having to downsize their baits. The spinnerbait bite is really tough, and normally this time of year spinnerbait bite wins, and it's going to be really tough. I do not think a spinnerbait bite will win.
Well, as Gary said, the clear water conditions will most likely make it a tough bite. Plus, this high-pressure system won't make things easy.
There's one way out off that point. There's another one with him.
Well, I'm sure he would have preferred a little more weight on his first fish of this tournament.
Way out off that point. The one with him was a little bit better, wasn't he? That's always the way it goes. I always catch the little one.
Gary's throwing a Lucky Craft pointer minnow off a rocky point, trying to draw the reaction strike from suspended bass. Mike Reynolds is currently sitting in 50th place in Western Point standings. We asked Mike if he was targeting big bass.
There's no going after the big ones. You just got to fish for a limit and take a big one if it comes. That's all you can do out there right now.
Mike's trying to work around the tough conditions and is throwing a brown pepper gets it in 20 to 45 feet of water. He's got a fish on.
Maybe the keeper. Yeah, he's a keeper. Come here, boy. There we go.
Well, that's a keeper, but it's another small fish. This clear water and blue skies are definitely hurting the big fish bite. And back to Gary Dobbins. Gary has built a strong reputation here in the Northwest, but he's only fishing his second BASS tournament.
I got him. He ain't a whole lot. I don't know who got scared worse, me or him. I seen him eat it, and I was looking for my next cast. I seen him eat it out of the corner of my eye, and I don't know who got scared worse.
Well, another small bass for Gary Dobbins, but at the opening day weigh-in, Mark Nalen of San Jose woke the crowd when he weighed 5 bass for 11 pounds, 1 ounces to take the lead.
11-1, right here. Let's see your weight today.
His best friend, Mark Risk, locked second place with 9 pounds and 10 ounces.
9-10.
And Sam Pablo's Shama Monroe grabbed third with 8 pounds, 5 ounces. We spoke to the tournament leader, Mark Nalen, on his strategy.
Fished hard, fished aggressive. I got the bigger bites after lunch like I knew I would, and I went fishing hard, or run and gun a lot, and fished a lot of water and got the big chews.
Our day one results, Mark Nalen in the lead, followed by Mark Risk and Ish Monroe. Gary Dobbins weighed 6 pounds, 12 ounces and finished day one in a 7-way tie for 29th place. We'll return to the California Western Invitational right after these messages.
Welcome back to Lake Shasta, and as we anticipated, those big fish were hard to locate and catch during the opening day. As a result, this tournament is wide open. Only 2 pounds separates 4th place from 50th. Most of the anglers we talked with were hoping for a low-pressure system to come through the area, drive those bait fish to shallow water in hopes of triggering that big fish bite.
Today's forecast shows a low-pressure zone moving into the area, and rain is anticipated for this afternoon. A review of our leaderboard, Mark Nalen holds a 1 pound, 7 ounce lead over Mark Risk, followed by Ish Monroe, Bill Pryor, and Dean Rojas. Well, here's Redding, California's Mark Risk. Mark's been fishing the western side of the lake, and it's put him in second place. He's got his first fish of the day on. It looks like a keeper, but not the kind that it's going to take to win this tournament. Mark's shaking a 6-inch straight-tail worm with a brass weight and glass bead down a series of points. The bass are eating it. Here's tournament leader Mark Nalen wasting no time hooking a fish.
I got it.
Now, Mark's been catching his bigger fish on a modified Super Spook.
I might need help with this fish, partner. Reel in your life. Ah! Stay on, baby girl. Stay on.
It sure appears that Mark's got a bigger quality fish on.
Are you good at lipping bass? You want me to do it?
Gonna take his time and not horse it.
You ready? She's hooked good. In the boat, in the boat. Yes! Thank you, Lord.
Now, that's the size it's going to take to win this thing, and Mark Nalen's excited. Meanwhile, here's Arizona's Dean Rojas. Dean also fishes the Kmart Top 150 Tour and is currently in 5th place in this tournament. Dean's been doodling a straight-tail finesse worm on light line, which produced over 8 pounds of bass yesterday. And there's another one in the boat for Dean Rojas. And back to Mark Risk. Like most of the competitors, Mark uses his electronics to locate schools of bait fish and then doodles a finesse worm under the shad. It looks like it's paid off with another good fish here. Mark would really like to win this tournament, but he told us yesterday that his priority is to build enough points in the Western Division to make it to the Bassmasters Classic in New Orleans. He finished 12th in the Washington Invitational and has gotten off to a solid start here at Shasta. Nice fish. Tournament leader, Mark Nalen.
Oh, stay on, baby.
Well, like Gary Dobbins, Mark's fishing his second BASS tournament.
Another good one, another good one, another good one. Another good one. Stay on, stay on. Stay on. Stay on. Stay on. Ready? Ready? Get that bass, get that bass. Yes, sir.
Well, Mark continues to work his modified Zara spook over pockets of bass, and they're coming up to hit it. This is Bill Pryor from Caldwell, Idaho. Now, Bill's taken a somewhat different approach, throwing a Carolina rig armed with a Zoom green pumpkin lizard to rocks and stumps around this point. He's not catching big fish, but he's catching lots of fish. And back to Mark Risk, who's really putting on a show for the boats surrounding him. You know, Mark fished this spot on day one, and he's back on his honey hole today. It continues to reward him with fish. He's got another one on now, and that's a nice 1-pound fish, but he's going to have some 2-pounders to separate him from the rest of this field. Big fish will be the story in this tournament. And the results for day 2. Gary Dobbins regrouped, got on track, and took over the lead with 5 fish totaling 14 pounds, 8 ounces.
14 pounds and 8 ounces. Let's hear it. All right. Man, what a day, huh?
And he made sure the day was memorable for his fans with a 7-pound, 9-ounce beauty. The big bass of the day.
Good gracious, look at the smile on this guy's face.
Man, what a hog. And Mark Nalen had heard the rumors about Gary Dobbins' fish and smiled as he fell into second place with a limit weighing 8 pounds, 5 ounces.
Your weight today, 8 pounds and 5 ounces. Y'all give him a round of applause. He's in there fighting hard, I guarantee.
And Stockton, California's Tony Costanzo brought in 5 fish and jumped into third place. We spoke to the leader, Gary Dobbins, about his big bass.
I went to an area that I just have caught a lot of big fish. It's a well-known spot. Matter of fact, it's not very far from where the lake record was caught in this lake. It's real close, and seen a lot of arches there. And we just started working them, and I caught 2 in about 10 minutes, and my partner lost a monster. I mean, they were up there, and we just, we got 2 of them. Actually, the second one wasn't that big. It's about 2 3/4, but it's a good fish for right now.
So our standings through 2 days of competition: Gary Dobbins is our leader, followed by Mark Nalen, Tony Costanzo, Steve Tosh Sr., and Mark Risk.
I live in a trailer down by the river.
Well, Mark Nalen might have fallen out of the lead, but he still has a sense of humor.
All right,
we'll be back right after.
Welcome back to the final day of the California Bassmasters Western Invitational, and we talked about him on day 1. And yesterday, Gary Dobbins showed us why he has that outstanding reputation for catching suspended bass. With a big fish of 7 pounds, 9 ounces and an overall weight of well over 14 pounds, Gary Dobbins has the lead heading into today's final round. The weather has become a major factor in this tournament. The low-pressure system continues to roll in, winds are expected to increase, temperatures decrease, and wet weather is in the forecast. Those conditions should play to the strength of Gary Dobbins and all of our anglers looking for that big catch on the final day. Regulars on Lake Shasta, they refer to Gary Dobbins as the magician. Today, he's hoping to pull another winning limit out of his hat.
Our current standings: Gary Dobbins, followed by Mark Nalen, Tony Costanzo, Steve Tosh Sr., and Mark Risk are tied for 4th. It is cold, it is raining, it is miserable. But these are the conditions many of the competitors have hoped for. Here's our leader, Gary Dobbins. He's back to a jerkbait and still looking for the reaction strike. Man, tough break for Gary Dobbins. Mark Nalen knows he has to make up 1 pound, 14 ounces just to get on an even keel with Gary Dobbins. Plus, he's got to bring in a good limit of fish if he's going to have a chance at winning this tournament. He's not using his Xeraspook, which is what he caught his big fish on day 1 and day 2. That's a keeper, but with time running out, he needs a bigger fish. Back to Gary Dobbins. He's trying to make something happen.
Come on, you rotten fish. I just want to take them for a little boat ride.
Well, it would appear Gary Dobbins is a little frustrated. Meanwhile, Idaho's Bill Pryor. Bill's still pulling that Zoom lizard through rocks and stumps and still catching bass. Bill might not win big bass of the day, but he's catching quality fish that will keep him near the top. He's a real consistent angler, and like Mark Risk, he has his eye on qualifying for that Bassmasters Classic in New Orleans. Back to our leader, Gary Dobbins. He stopped throwing a jerkbait and has switched to a worm, something that he really doesn't like to do.
Only got one of the little guys to bite.
Well, he pulled that one right out of a brush pile. Adds to his limit. Again, that's our leader, Gary Dobbins. Tough conditions are getting tougher here on Lake Shasta. We'll return right after this.
The Pros Pointer, brought to you by Wrangler Rugged Wear.
Hi everybody, I'm Mike Reynolds, and I'd like to show you how I rig the zipper worm. Most of you have heard about this zipper worm. It's been the craze of the West Coast now for a good 2 years. It's been my personal confidence bait for about a year and a half. It's also the worm I took to High Rock Lake to place 4th in the Bassmasters Classic. Now let me show you how I rig it. It's a basic Texas rig. We're going right through the center of the worm, down, come out between the 3rd and 4th rib, swing it around, back through the worm, make sure the hook point is completely exposed out the other side. Now what this does, rigging it sideways like this, allows the zipper to fall straight and to swim straight. And it also allows for a perfect weed guard in brush and rock situations. I recommend if you throw this bait rig this way on some of your home waters, you'll really be surprised. I hope I've helped you a little bit, and good luck fishing.
Welcome back to the final weigh-in of the California Bassmasters Western Invitational. Ready to weigh in is tournament leader Gary Dobbins.
5 pounds and 14 ounces.
Well, 5 pounds, 14 ounces keeps him in the lead, but it's Gary's smallest sack of the tournament. It has him in the pole position, but it makes him vulnerable to a big bag later on. Here's Rob Vanderkooi.
And the total weight, nice sack of fish for Rob, 11 pounds and 6 ounces for Rob Vanderkooi.
That weight brings him to a 3-day total of 26 pounds, 3 ounces, and vaults Rob into second place.
Tosh Sr.
Here is Steve Tosh Sr.
7 pounds, 11 ounces. Mark it 7-11 for Steve.
Well, that won't do it for Steve Tosh, which takes us to the man who's been battling with Gary Dobbins all tournament, Mark Nalen. Mark needs a 7-pound, 3-ounce sack for the lead.
5 pounds.
Well, it would appear Gary Dobbins has captured his first BASS tournament victory.
Man, there are something.
They're a little squirrely, aren't they?
7 ounces. Mark it
And
5-7
Dobbins wins.
Mr. Nellen.
But for the moment, everyone's attention has gone to the weigh-in stage. Let's go up to our master of ceremonies, Don Day.
Nice firm grip on this bass. Take your time, slowly draw this puppy out of this sack. Good gracious alive.
Yo, Loretta, Jeff Boyer has pulled a monster out of the lake.
Off Lake Shasta.
Man, what a fish.
There you go. He gives it a nice
And
kiss.
Gary Dobbins wins it, followed by Rob Vanderkooi, Mark Nalen, and Jeff Boyer, who jumps 145 positions into 4th place with that fish. Tony Costanzo, Chuck English, Mark Risk, Mike Reynolds, and Kotaro Kiyama round out our top 10. Our California Bassmasters Western Invitational winner is Gary Dobbins. And Gary, your weight holds up. Tell us again about your day.
Today was real tough on me. I threw rip baits and spinner baits through the morning, and I never caught a fish. But, you know, I asked for this wind and rain. I really wanted it, and guys should be careful what he asked for, because it was miserable out there today.
How important was that big fish yesterday to you?
Crucial. I mean, without that fish, I mean, I wouldn't have been nowhere in sight. I was hanging around big fish areas. I've caught a lot of big fish there. That's the biggest fish I've ever caught on this lake.
Well, congratulations to you. And on a cold, rainy day in Northern California, Gary Dobbins works his magic one more time. He's our winner. So long from Lake Shasta. BASS presents The Road to the Classic. The race to New Orleans is on, and Jay Ellis leads the Kmart Top 150. While perennial favorites Larry Nixon, Kevin Van Dam, and Davey Height are focused on a return trip to the World Championship. Defending champion Denny Brower sits in a 3-way tie for 16th. And Louisiana native Sam Sweat would love to fish the Classic in his home state. In the Eastern Division, Dustin Wilkes holds a 4-point lead over George Cochran. In the Central Division, Dan Moorhead leads after his victory on Lake of the Ozarks. And in the West, California's Aaron Martin sits atop the pack with 585 points. You can follow the road to the Classic. Just log on to www.bassmaster.com. We'll see you in New Orleans.
The Bassmaster Tournament Trail has been brought to you by the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society, Ranger Boats, Wrangler Rugged Wear, Quantum, Chevy Trucks, Motor Guide, Mercury Outboards, Bass Pro Shops, Berkeley, Jersey's Activewear,